In the 70s, which was a decade that was known for, an awful lot when it comes to movies. And because there was multiple genres that were explored and all this sort of thing. And, but, you can go through each one and pick them out, what have you, of what was achieved and what was explored or attempted and that sort of thing. And now one of the things was disaster movies. So there was quite a few. There was Towering Inferno, the Poseidon Adventure, Earthquake, stuff like that. But the mainstay of the genre were these airplane disasters. And in fact, there was a series of films called Airport, which actually I think it got its start in the late 60s with the first one. But that continued on a while and went on to inspire the comedy Airplane and Airplane 2, which are masterpieces in comedy. Really great and all that. And of course, outside of Airport series, there was other kind of rip-offs of Airplanes in Trouble and stuff like that. But eventually, another mainstay of 70s, and I think it continued for a while into the 80s, and then the miniseries kind of took over and stuff like that, but was TV movies. Basically, a 2-hour movie made for television. Yes, that's right. And out of that, you got became basic television shows like Columbo, but it was always these special movies. It was the mystery movie of the week, so it would be Columbo one week and McCloud the next one, stuff like that. So they were turning out a lot of these and going on all cylinders, while also producing regular television series. So there was quite a few. There were in all the different genres, police stories, murder mysteries, which of course they were chasing a bunch of them. Not all of them landed to get a series out of that. So not all of them got to become Columbo, But then horror was a genre that was chased in the TV movie template. And, the disaster movie In the Air and horror came together. I suppose you could argue they did anyway, because it's very scary to be in a plane in trouble. But horror, when it comes to the supernatural, and there was a lot of horror genre going on in the 70s, of course, especially concerning the supernatural. And so the airplane disaster and the supernatural horror elements came together in the horror at 37,000 feet. Yeah, that's the actual count. And that's pretty high up. Yeah, you're up there 37,000 feet, and oh no, something terrible is happening. So yeah, I did see it a long time ago, and my main interest in it was William Shatner was in it. Yeah, it's Captain Kirk in there. So this is in the middle years after Star Trek was no more, and then eventually you get to the movies later on for Star Trek. But there was this wilderness years, and William Shatner, he did do a lot of work. He was on a lot of these shows. He would be the guest star on quite a few of them. And some TV movies, and also theatrical films here and there. This was one of the TV movie ones, and there's quite a few other television stars in there. Chuck Connors was in it, Buddy Ebsen, and Paul Winfield, interestingly enough, is in there. Of course, he would go on to be in Wrath of Khan with Shatner. And then Roy, I never can remember the pronunciation of Roy. You see his face, you know him. He was the lead in The Invaders. Remember that? The aliens, no one believed the guy. But it's either Roy Thynes but it's not. It looks like it's Thinnis. But anyway, that's the deal. The women I all recognize, but I don't know their names. So I'm sorry. I feel terrible. But, that's the deal. So anyway, this is a simple story. You got a bunch of people leaving London, heading to New York, and they're getting on board. Chuck Connors is the captain of the plane. And William Shatner playing an ex-priest, so he's lost his faith and left the cloth, as it were, with his sort of, I don't know, I guess he's supposed to be his hippie girlfriend that he's hooked up with. So it's a rather it's a nice plane, boy, and it's only a handful of people on it. That's just the best. So so you meet the cast of characters as they're boarding, and you get a little insight on their individual stories. But there's the guy from the Invaders, Roy. He and his wife show up, and he's having this I thought he was like an archaeologist or something, but maybe a collector. But anyway, he has this old artifact that apparently was an altar from the Druids, and he's secured, I guess, ownership of it, and he's shipping it back to New York. So that's going to be on the plane. So it's on there. There's this woman who gets in there too, and she's like a thorn in his side because she's against him seizing possession of this artifact, says it doesn't belong to him and it's wrong for him to take it and all this. So you're already getting the element that will bring the supernatural into this, and there's already signs of it. The guys are loading it onto the plane, and there's weird noises, and at one moment, all of a sudden, there's like ice and snow forming on the plane, and the flight crew are sitting there like, hey, what the hell's going on? Oh yeah, the guy, man, what's his name? The professor from Gilligan's Island. He's a member of the flight crew. He's in there, and this other guy that I didn't recognize before Chuck Connors shows up, they're sitting there. What the hell was that? Did you see that? The ice appears on the window, and then it goes away. Now already, at the very least, the crew's got to, wait a minute, we're hallucinating. Maybe we shouldn't be flying. But they just, the stress and stuff. Blow it off. So anyway, everybody boards, the plane takes off. It's fine. Now the woman that's protesting the Invaders guy, she brought her dog with her. Should have left him home, but brought him with her, and they say, yeah, you can't bring your dog in the passenger section. It'll have to be sent to the cargo section. So the dog is caged, and he's sitting in there with the weird druid altar. So already the dog is nervous. He already knows this ain't right. Something's wrong with this thing, So anyway, as it unfolds, it spends some amount of time with some. Turns out, Invader guy, Roy, I forget what his name was in this show. His wife keeps hearing voices and whatnot, and it just so happens she's been plagued with, I don't know, psychic attacks, I guess, something of that nature, and that so the spirits can reach out to her more than some of the others. One of the weird things in there is this little girl is one of the passengers, and she's by herself. There's no guardian, there's no parents, and I'm like, what the hell? Just make sure you get on the plane, honey. I just let her fly by herself, and they'll pick her up in New York. I don't know. That was just weird. But, I mean, it's like, okay, you wanted some kid to be on there to get scared and everything, but couldn't you have had one of the characters be her mother or father? I mean, it's just, I don't know. So, Shatner, well, he's getting drunk, and he's all cynical and depressed about God and stuff like that, But then the weird stuff happens, and they're like, hey, what's going on? I mean, one of the stewardesses, holy crap, are they cute. And those outfits, man, oh man, those are nice. Yeah, they're pretty. But anyway, one of them gets stuck in this little elevator they got that goes up and down in the levels of the plane, and the ghosts start trying to freeze her. And she starts crying and banging on the door and stuff, and then a couple of the passengers, one of the guys is this cowboy dude who turns out apparently was an actor in little cheap cowboy B movies or whatever. And he said, I'm famous. And the girls don't recognize him at all. And it's kind of, oh, well. But anyway, he's one of the guys that goes and gets the girl out of the elevator and all that. But as they go, they realize, man, geez, there's all this. There's a lot of ice and stuff. And they go to the captain and say, hey, the stewardess says, we must have the cargo door must be open or something, because it's all, the ice is forming and stuff. So they've, they got a problem. And so they checked the pressure levels and no, everything's sealed. And he says, well, I felt it. So eventually they go and investigate. And of course, the whole damn cargo section is just frozen solid. Chuck Connors and the professor from Gilligan's Island, they go in there and they discover the dog has been frozen to death, and they start to see the source of the problem is coming from where the altar was. And then all of a sudden the professor turns around, get out, run, he's like, why, what? And then the professor is frozen to death immediately. And then Chuck Connors barely gets out, but one of his arms gets damaged. It gets frozen, and then it remains numb throughout the movie, I believe. And so he barely escaped, the same fate that the professor got. And so there's Paul Winfield's the doctor. He checks him, and, well, yeah, you've had some severe neural damage to your arm here, and all this type of stuff. And so it just gets more and more of these antics, and they realize, holy crap, what the hell's going on here? And then you got the lady who's mad about the guy stealing the artifact, saying you've angered the old spirits and all this sort of stuff. And they demand a sacrifice, and then Buddy Ebsen says, I ain't dying on this plane. So he comes up with the idea, we need to sacrifice something, and the hippie girl agrees. And they start looking at the little kid. It's like, no, we can't do that. So then hippie girl decides, well, let's just take the little girl's doll and we'll sacrifice that. That'll fool them. And they cut a lock of not the girl's hair, but the woman, the archaeologist guy's or whatever it was, the Roy's wife. She's the one who apparently has some psychic connection to these spirits. So they cut a lock of her hair and tie it onto the doll and put it there and offer this up as a sacrifice, and that will calm the spirits. Well, they pretty much figured out that it's just a plastic rub-it-up dolly doll. And just they get pissed, and they make the doll puke green snot or whatever the hell. So they're like, oh no, now we're in trouble. So then they get the idea they need to make a fire. So they they start a fire on the airplane. And ultimately the priest decides he's got to rise to the occasion. So he takes a torch and he goes into the cargo hold. The other idea is they need to get to sunlight. Now, the more interesting thing is, before all the stuff really hits the fan, is they're flying in air, but they can't seem to get anywhere. They're kind of, it's as if they're in a loop or some sort. So it's holding them there where they are. But I guess they're able to go, they can't go forward, but they can go up and down. So they rise up to meet to where the sunlight will appear faster than it would if they just waited. And so they get into the sunlight, and that's supposed to drive out the spirits. But by then, Shatner confronts what it's in there, and all you do, he turns around the corner in the cargo hold, and there's some figure, a cloaked figure, standing there. And then his girlfriend's calling for him to come back, and says, "It's okay, you can come back. We're in the sunlight or whatever." And he's like, "No, I got to see it." So he looks again, and the next thing you know, he's blown out of the room. The door rips open, and he's ejected out into the sky, and it's badly done. Most of it is a haunted plane. They're on the plane in soundstage. It's fine for what it is, But they try to do this scene of him going out into, the sky, and it's bad. He's like, it doesn't really work very well. But off it goes, and he goes, which Turns out he really didn't need to, I wouldn't think. But, you know, he wanted to see the guy in the cloak. Maybe he took his hood off and it revealed it was the devil or something. I don't know. And that's it for Shatner. And then the plane lands, and everybody's like, oh, that was weird. And they go home. But it's unique in that, you know, it's this disaster in the air. But it's like demonic possession, you know, is Exorcist meets airport, I guess. And it's a fun little romp for what it is. A bit more on the silly side overall, but I got to admit, I was thoroughly entertained by it. So there you go, a classic from 70s TV movie, The Horror at 37,000 feet.